Okay, I recorded this video before all of the Sony and leaking of the final shape, including raid mods. Yay! There are times when raid racing has its highest moments, when 6 players come together to pull off victories on the grand stage and take home trophies symbolizing their miraculous accomplishments. We know this because the final shape will have its grand moment very soon. Then, there are times when controversy strikes and it becomes the talk of the Destiny community. Some of these are so notorious that I decided it best to make a list of the top 10 raid controversies in Destiny history. These will cover a variety of stories that I may or may not have touched on in my raid series. As always, if I missed one you feel was important, please leave me a comment and tune into Raid Zone on June 7th. CB Gray and I will be going all out for this one in a new location. Tune in and lock in for all day one raid coverage from first place, the loot, how-tos, and way more. Trust me, you don't want to miss this one. Let's begin, and please drop a like and a sub if you're new. It helps me get these videos to even more people, and it shows me you guys are rocking with the videos. Guys, it finally happened, and I'm begging you. I'm on my hands and knees at the store right now to show these guys some love. Raid Zone wouldn't be possible without them, and I even got to send my editor a brand new PC by working with them, destroying the $4 allegation. Guys, I am happy to announce that I am partnered with Starforge PCs. All they ask in return is that you click the link in the description, as the more clicks, the more they get to see that my community is rocking with them. I'm lucky enough to be given the chance to tell you about their immaculate PCs. From the Intel Core 14th Gen processors delivering high performance and efficiency thanks to groundbreaking new performance hybrid design. This does include the Intel Core i9 processor, the Intel Core i7 processor, and the Intel Core i5 processor, all offered with the Starforge product line. To the different options with 2-year part and build protection, and you get the point, guys. I could go on and on, but it's simple. These dudes at Starforge helped me so much and made me feel like I belong. I think it would be awesome if we showed some love right back. Thank you, Starforge, for sponsoring this video, and enjoy the rest, guys. Number 10. Deepstone Crypt was and still is one of the most impressive raids for the visuals and the first time experience. It has sheer icy beauty, a wonderful score complemented by Deepstone Lullaby, and some great encounters like Atrax 1. So, when the raid released and Taniks was the raid boss, an audible gasp was heard across the entire community. You might think, why? Well, Taniks was already a strike boss and a nightmare added in the expansion Shadowkeep. On top of that, raids typically feature bosses that the player either hasn't seen or at least some build up to the boss in the campaign or somewhere outside of the raid. For Taniks, the best we got was a teaser cutscene with him sort of apart from Aramis's girl boss gang. The other was just him coming out of a pod after Atrax sacrificed her own flesh to become an Exo-Fallen. Going from the near-perfect Atrax encounter to a normal Taniks, then a big shank version of him, was disappointing in a lot of players' eyes. Among the many other controversies Deepstone Crypt would rack up, trust me, we will get to those, this one was the tip of the iceberg, quite literally. Players would defend the choice to add Taniks, mentioning him a part of the House of Salvation's original gang, and Taniks being the seemingly unkillable self already, but because Taniks was the final boss of a brand new raid to kick off a brand new era of Destiny, and he showed up so prominently before, Taniks would then become a meme, and everyone still jokes that Taniks will be every single raid boss since then. Number 9. There is controversy on day 1, and then there is raid racers running into trouble. Out of the 2 most dominant teams in raid racing history, both of them have had members banned due to controversies. First off, in Last Wish, after an awe-inspiring near 19-hour finish, Redeem's clan member Indica was getting into some back and forth with the Legend himself clan over speedrunning related matters. This came to a boiling point when Goose's Gaming Folklore made a video titled Cheating in Destiny 2 Speedrunning, What Really Happened, in which the controversy boiled down to if macro Titan skating was allowed or not in a speedrun. This is all banter and back and forth, but Indica would eventually leave Redeem to pursue his own matters. things would go quiet. But eventually, Indica was banned indefinitely for so many different chains of proof, from DDoS attacks, racist comments, and more. Hey, he even threatened me in this long post, so that's cool. Bungie would ban Indica, and even though his ban had nothing to do with the day one success of the raid, I feel like it's worth mentioning for the history of Last Wish. So congrats to Redeem for 5-manning the raid. On the other side, we have Elysium, the modern day juggernauts of raiding. The community likes to give Salt to Greppo a lot of crap for talking about balance and difficulty in the game, but we're here to talk about two bans. Slap and Cruz, both members of Elysium's first 2 title belts, and Cruz, who had been a part of all of them, were both banned for controversial reasons. Slap was banned for doing account recovery clears of raids, meaning he was clearing the Vow of the Disciple raid right after he won World's First for other people. This was directly against Bungie's policy, so his ban still holds, whether you agree or not. Cruz was banned for using a third-party extension called Art Money on Total War games, a third-party application used for workshop mods so that the players of those games can go efficiently through them. Bungie was firm on the decision, and Cruz is still banned going into Final Shape. Again, whether you agree or disagree with these bans, it still was controversial, and it really sucks losing day 1 raiders, especially for Elysium, who lost 2 starters, a part of 2 World's First belts. Has to hurt. Let's see how they managed to follow that up in the Final Shape raid. On a lighter note, and by lighter I mean from actual sunrise with this one, we have Crown of Sorrow. This won't be the last time we visit the raid for this video, but Crown had an interesting delivery to say the very least. Bungie had just announced the contest modifier going into Crown, and coming off of the last raid, Scourge of the Past, everyone was expecting a little bit of time to gear up, since you couldn't be over-leveled when contest mode dropped. What players didn't expect was for Crown to come out the same evening as Season of Opulence. Everyone who was racing instead looked to Sweatsicle's spreadsheet and raced as fast as they could to get ready. Getting all 3 characters through every single powerful and pinnacle drop in the game was stressful, and it just made the whole community of racers very tired going into the raid. Bungie would never go back to this format again for good reason. Number 7. Deepstone Crypt is back, and this time it came with a vengeance of angry players mad at comments made by Glad. Deepstone Crypt had a much higher clear rate of day 1 emblems than any day 1 before it. We are talking a few hundred normally to nearly 30,000 on this day. And keep in mind, this was before Bungie changed the 24-hour window to get a contest clear to 48 hours. Vlad had made comments saying that the raid experience was great, but that the difficulty wasn't exciting, and it left the raid feeling like a handout. This resulted in a lot of harassment from the Destiny community towards Vlad, with many going on the offensive because ultimately it just doesn't feel good to prep for day 1, then be told it felt like a handout in the eyes of the biggest streamer on the game. Vlad would apologize,
but please feel very proud of what you've done. My reference of the number of completions was because it was much greater than others, and I didn't realize how many people had actually participated. Once again, my fault, my ignorance.
But this was a controversial moment to say the very least. What I can say is that I'm a sick guy when it comes to raids, so I get where Glad was coming from. I want day 1 to be hard. I want it to be so hard that nobody clears it, and Bungie extends the window longer. But I also know I'm in the small minority here. Honorable Mentions. Speaking of easy, Curse of Osiris, the DLC name that strikes the fear of gods into players' minds, had the very first iteration of smaller raids named Raid Layers. In the layer, players would be tested against a smaller version of a raid, which allowed Bungie to push 3 raids a year out the door. Aside from being back on the Leviathan, the controversy here was making a raid so tiny and pretty easy that an LFG team was able to win. I don't want to discredit the team or sound condescending, but a lot of people who were already unhappy with Destiny 2 took aim and shot their craniums at Eater of Worlds. This would go on to inspire Bungie to push Spire of Stars being much harder for the DLC Warmind. So maybe Eater of Worlds' ease being controversial with an encounter where you can literally clear ads got Bungie to push Last Wish being as difficult as it really could be. If you can't beat them, LFG them. Number 6. Leviathan was Bungie's first raid in Destiny 2, and Prestige mode would be Destiny 2's version of hard mode, changing some of the mechanics. You had harder enemies, you had harder rooms, etc., you get the point. Well, Redeem had recently lost to the Legend Himself clan for the original Leviathan, but were still poised to take Prestige mode home. On the day of the race, Redeem opted to use a glitch called coil glitching, essentially taking advantage of Wardcliff Coil's weird properties that made it so one brick of heavy ammo could get full heavy ammo on any weapon of your choice. See, Bungie had come out with a list of banned glitches to qualify for World's First, but coil glitching was not on that list. In an infamous clip, Sweat just said this.
Someone got ripped for coil glitching. I got ripped.
And the internet wasn't happy. It was seen as an unwritten rule not to use it, even though other teams in this race were using it. This didn't stop a storm of hatred towards Redeem, and even from some larger creators. Glad would then go on to Reddit to make a giant explanation as to why they used the coil glitch, which again, did not make the community happy. Ultimately, the community wasn't happy to see a world's first clear done with a glitch, but truthfully, if it's allowed, players will always use it whether you agree or not. Number 5. Speaking of allowed, we have leaks and all sorts of breaching going into Deepstone Crypt. Deepstone was a race I was very personally attached to. I fought hard for my 36th place, thank you very much. Seriously though, Deepstone Crypt had a ton of leaks going into day 1. From mechanics leaks to the bosses, maps, objectives, and even breaches of people getting into the environments early. It was all out there. I'm happy I didn't look at these because it made going into space that much sweeter, but I also don't blame anyone who did, since it was the first race in a year from Bungie, and players were more antsy than ever to get a shot at the first place belt. You had full Reddit posts, which would contain full leaks and spoilers of the entire environments before the raid was out. You had tweets like this one from Leopard saying, "The amount of leaks of Deepstone Crypt makes it so hard for me to get excited for World's First." Ultimately, the race was still won by a team who absolutely slayed out. But Deepstone Crypt was the beginning of the rabbit hole of Bungie's leaks, and hopefully with final shape, none happened. Fingers crossed. Number 4. From leaks to downright cyber terrorism, we have Orange Justice. Nope, not that one. This one is actually criminal. Orange Justice was a group of players who did anything from make insanely racist comments to DDoS and dox creators, even having direct ties to some of Destiny's more known clans. The reason I bring this up is because of the Scourge of the Past raid day, in which OJ used the brand new join feature through Blizzard's VNet to join on creators and grab their IPs so that when Scourge of the Past came out, they wouldn't be able to raid, ruining the big day. At the time of the raid, this wasn't known, but as time went on, this scum would be removed from the community. It sucks though. I love Scourge, and I can't imagine how it felt for those who were racing to have a day like that taken away from them. And how Bungie felt knowing that players were just under attack. Just sucks all around, man. Number 3. It's funny that 3 of these on the list have been relatively the same point, but each time the needle moves further. In this case, Root of Nightmares. Now, you know when the abbreviation for Root of Nightmares is RON? It was already not a great sign. No offense, Rons out there. Root of Nightmares had the highest day 1 clear rate and contest clear rate in Destiny history by a wide margin. Root of Nightmares had more day 1 clears than Vow of the Disciple, Deepstone Crypt, Garden of Salvation, Crown of Sorrows, Scourge of the Past, Last Wish, Spire of Stars, Eater of Worlds, Leviathan, Wrath of the Machine, King's Fall, Crota's End, and Vogue combined. And you know when Dado is mad, you messed up.
As a hardcore player, the contest mode of the raid was, honestly, an embarrassment, a letdown, and we have power crept so far that I don't even know what can be done.
Hell, when Moist Critical makes a video roasting the difficulty, you messed up.
I hate that this is kind of what Destiny 2 has become. I want a reason to log in and play and grind. I want fun things to do in the game, but there just really isn't.
44% of players who attempted RON cleared RON in the 48-hour window. And while that still makes up less than half of the total attempts, yeah, the community agreed this time that it was just too easy. Thankfully, Bungie would up the contest difficulty with Crota, and that world's first took longer than any other remaster ever had before. Here's to hoping that the final shape raid delivers where Ron could not. Number 2. You knew it was coming if you played Destiny in 2022. But in case you didn't, this one was a doozy. Okay, so after the success of the Witch Queen campaign, Bungie was about to drop an alley-oop in the Val the Disciple raid. This raid was a true step up from Deepstone Crypt in difficulty and offered a new enemy in role. I said a new. Yeah, for some teams, it was all sunshine and rainbows with 0 error codes at all. But for most teams, this was a legendary disappointment of server issues that prevented day one from really ever starting. There were so many error codes that Bungie extended the window of getting a contest clear by another 24 hours, allowing frustrated gamers to get some sleep for the night while they fixed the servers, and this extension of contest to 48 hours would be permanent to every raid after that too. The story doesn't end there though. See, after all the error codes were eventually settled, Elysium would climb back and actually overtake Ascend, who was in a commanding lead going into Rolk. Then they beat Math Class by only 1 damage phase. It was that close in time. So even though it was a huge day of many controversies, the story of closing the gap is a heroic silver lining. Number 1. Oh boy, this one might have slipped under the radar to some of you, but to others, this was the grand controversy of them all, and the one that could really only fit here. Especially if I called it the raid that baited the Destiny community in my first video on the subject. Math Class, coming off of a 24:02, nodding to 2 minutes late to get the Last Wish Day 1 emblem, were hungry for Crown of Sorrows World's First. And they were neck and neck with Clan B Bold, who was hungry from coming close to winning Spire of Stars the year before. Both teams were so hungry that they both won at the same time?
Throw on us, throw on us.
Die.
Let's go.
Yes.
Come on.
Come on. Please. Get ready. Yeah, I'm watching.
See, Bungie had made it a tradition to award the raid exotic to the first place team. So every member got the exotic, and it was a signal of first place immediately. I still think it's a great tradition, but it came with consequences, as Math Class was in the same instance, meaning that the same load state of the boss respawning for the 6 of them was the same as Be Bold. So the game's internal checkered flag saw both of them as victors. By the way, this would have happened for Val the Disciple if this was still a reward, and it would have been another day 1 controversy to add to that raid. Psst, Bungie, you can just apply the exotic to the winning team's accounts after the raid is over. You're welcome. If there is a silver lining, and I mean silver, unfortunately, it's that Data would get a chance to roast Luke Smith going into Shadowkeep.
Yeah, but a gold one would be nice. Yeah. One day to put on the mantle. Yeah.
And that interview is where this meme comes from. Ultimately, nothing beats out getting baited by a world's first. So those are the controversies in some way, shape, or form. I want to thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in my next video or on Raid Zone. Have a good one. As a bonus, since I feel like I have to do this, yeah, we're going to put the new leaks with Sony at the very end of this video. So, yeah.